Here we go. I'm so excited for this. Bring it around and whoa, my first jump and I nailed it. Yeah. Now watch this. Punch it. Goes right up. Look at that. Carrying it. Nice. Oh, that is so awesome.
You got to give Losi some credit. They've been working really hard to give us a full-scale motorsports experience just in RC form. They gave us the Grave Digger monster truck, the Camaro no prep drag car, the Bog Hog mega truck, a Razor side-by-side, and now the Pro Moto MX quarter-scale motorcycle. It's a true ready-to-run off-road dirt bike. It comes with everything you need to run it inside the box, and it's capable of pulling wheelies, reaching some fast speeds, and you could jump it. I'm gonna take it outside and run it in just a little bit, but first up we're gonna talk about its features, and there's some really interesting technology inside this that you need to see. I tore down the bike so you could see all of those details. If you appreciate that, do me a favor and use our affiliate link if you're an online shopper, and while you're down there, hit the like button. All right, let's get inside this bike. Losi likes to team up with established companies, teams, and people in the full-scale motorsports world. And for the Pro Moto MX, they teamed up with Pro Circuit and its founder, Mitch Payton, to come up with the livery that you see here. It's absolutely awesome. We're gonna start off by talking about the figure, which is molded in urethane. His body, his legs, and even the helmet. As you can see, the helmet has printed logos on it, the Pro Circuit logo, the Losi logo. I like the Scott goggles, but check this out, guys. This is an actual cloth jersey. Knitted, it's got a zipper on the side. You know, some of the older bikes that are out there, and we even saw some ATVs, it was just the urethane figure that was painted. These guys went the extra mile. It's got a Fox logo on the jersey and everything. It's mounted here at the handlebars. There's a simple 2mm screw to hold the hands in place. There's a peg in the center of it, and then it's held in at the foot pegs as well. So this guy seems to be pretty solid. I don't think he's gonna go anywhere when you crash this bike. Next up, let's check out the plastic solid molded front fender, the number plate, and then the side plastics are done up with some really cool graphics, and they give you additional graphics set inside the kit. And then the rear fender actually has a rubber O-ring so it can flip up. It's not gonna break off on you like some older motocross bikes did, the few that were out there in RC. You got the Pro Circuit pipe on the side. The front forks have the shield plastics, and if you look behind it here, you can see the coolers, just a simple plate to block off the frame of the bike. And then you see these odd wheels here. These are the lean bar wheels. There's a bushing inside these, and that's so when you're leaning over while driving this, you don't scratch up the side of your bike, the figure. And there is a little torsion type bar system, so these actually bend a little bit. They're just not a rigid piece. Let's move on to the wheels and tires. They're actually a two-piece wheel. The spokes are molded, but you'd screw the two pieces together and you glue the tires on. And they're gonna have optional tires for it. I saw that they have a Proline street tire and Proline hole shots, which makes it sound like people might take this to a large dirt track, maybe even an A-scale track or a 5th scale track, and be able to drive the bikes there, get some traction out of it. But they have a plastic hub from the factory. And then if you look on the other side of the front wheel here, they have a front disc brake on it, which is pretty awesome. And that is an actual working front disc brake. You can see the brake cable here going up to a Spectrum S108 servo. So the rear wheel gets its brake by the speed controller, and the front wheel, it has this mechanical brake setup. But back to the tire, this is a licensed Dunlop front and rear tire. It's got a medium feel to the rubber compound, but I like the look of those lugs on there. I bet you that's gonna throw up some dirt. Let's go on to the suspension now, starting off with the front forks. These are machined aluminum tubes here, and there is a shaft inside, multiple springs and pistons, O-rings, and oil. So it is actual working damped front suspension. And then out back, here's a composite plastic rear swing arm, and it is damped by a single shock. There's an aluminum body on that shock and some really heavy oil inside, a really firm looking spring to damp the rear swing arm. There's a little mounting boss and bushings down here for the lower mount, and then the upper mount of the shock is integrated into the seat plastics. Now let's move on to the frame of the bike. It's a twin vertical plate frame, aluminum plates. Those plates are covered by outer plastics, and there's a lot of cross bracing throughout, and there's just a lot of stuff going on inside. And I guess we'll start off with the flywheel that helps keep this thing stable. So down in the bottom here, there is this large round drum-like piece of plastic with a Spectrum motor sticking out of the side of it. It's actually a 2700 kV motor, and I believe it has the speed controller set inside of it as well. So when you go and turn this bike on, you're gonna have to go and hit a separate switch to start the flywheel, and that's what's going to make this thing really stable. It helps keep the bike upright. Mounted right above that flywheel housing is the speed controller. It's an 85 amp speed controller. It's got a fan to cool it, and it uses an EC5 plug. As you can see, the plug is mounted out back here. That's because the battery goes into a tray right below the seat here. You access the battery tray by popping off a body clip in the back, and it slides in and out pretty easily. Above the speed controller is the steering servo. It's mounted basically where the fuel tank would be, and it steers the front wheel. Unfortunately, it doesn't turn the handlebars as well. That's a solid piece up top, but there is a servo saver on there. It is the Spectrum 620 metal geared servo, and then right behind that is a front damping unit that I guess just absorbs some additional shock. You can see there's a spring in there, and along the right side of the bike, that's where the Spectrum servo is mounted for the brake. But on the other side is a 6-channel receiver for this from Spectrum that handles all the control of this between the braking and the speed controller and the servos, you know, keeping the motor powered up. But again, Losi has this all set up for you, so you don't have to worry about tuning anything. It's just set up ready to go once you get the bike. Now finally, I guess we should talk about the drivetrain on this. So there is a 3800 kV Spectrum motor. It's a brushless motor that has a pinion gear that goes to a spur gear slipper shaft that has a slipper clutch that you can adjust, and then another gear that goes down to a bottom axle that goes through the swing arm to a sprocket, and then the metal chain with the large sprocket on the rear hub. And you can adjust the chain tension. They give you these additional inserts that go inside of the swing arm. There's ball bearings throughout the driveline parts, and that's pretty much everything you need to know about the Pro Moto MX bike itself. Now it comes with the stand, and I'm going to show you what else comes in the kit. Again, it gives you everything in here. It has a new DX3 radio. It looks kind of similar to what we've seen before, but they've made a change to the wheel. They give us a really cool steering wheel that looks like the spoke wheel on the bike. And then over here, they have a flywheel switch. So this is what you use to turn on your flywheel after you power up the bike. And it still has the battery level meter. Apparently you can run this bike from anywhere from 9 to 12 minutes. They give you the AA's for the radio. They give you some extra parts. There's a battery foam spacer in there. I see an extra servo saver clip, those inserts to adjust the chain tension, and even these little mounting bosses for those lean arms. I guess there's an option for that. They give you chain lube because you are gonna have to do some maintenance for this. There's some tools in here. This is, those large wrenches are for taking the fork apart. And then they give you these large nails because here's your starting gate for the bike. You go and nail the gate down, and that is where you could take the bike off from. Here's some of those extra decals that I mentioned. They give you an instruction manual that breaks everything down. Check out all these options for it. That's gonna be really cool. There's a quick start guide. And finally, here is the charger that comes with it. It's a simple USB charger. They give you a power adapter with it as well. And then this isn't the actual battery that comes with it. My bike was a sample that was air freighted in. They're gonna give you a 50C battery pack, but it's gonna look very similar to this with the IC5 plug on it. Let's go and take the bike out for a drive.
Here we go, guys. First time behind the wheel of the Pro Moto. What we got to do first is turn on the radio system, then the bike. There's a little bit of a startup procedure here. I'm gonna go put it in the gate. We got a couple startup tones here, and then what we have to do is turn on the flywheel. So you can hear that thing spooling up. Got a consistent sound now. And this thing actually has 3 modes. So there's a dirt mode. Since I'm gonna be driving in a dirt lot for the first time, I'm gonna put it in that mode. I'm gonna hit the button down. So we had 1 green light flash. So we should be ready to go now. Here we go. Look at that. That was so easy. Oh, here we go, look at that. This thing is super easy to control. We're gonna move on to some other places to drive it, but wow, that's awesome. All right guys, I found a clear parking lot. Next up, we're gonna try street mode. And so what I have to do is I have to hit the A button until I see 2 blinks on the LED, which I did. I've got everything powered up already. Let's see how it does. Just gotta hand start it. Just pretty easy. Look at that. Oh, guys, I was on 50% throttle. Now it's, oh, now it does wheelies. Yeah, look at that. All right, ready? Let's come around the turn. And, whoa, look at that, wheelies. That is sick. So apparently you can adjust the wheelies with the AVC knob. Well, it's not the AVC knob. It was about halfway, so I'm gonna turn it up to 3/4. See if I get this thing back going again. There we go. Look at that thing ripping wheelies. That thing is sick. You know what? Losi has cracked the code on making a fun RC bike that is just so easy to drive. Tons of functionality. You need to take this to the BMX track and see how it jumps. All right guys, we're at the BMX track. I got the flywheel spooling up. The radio is in dirt mode and we're gonna hit some jumps. Oh, my heart is pumping. Here we go again, ready? Oh, it's so easy to control, guys. Look how stable it is though. It is absolutely insane how stable this bike is. We'll float this first jump. We're going big. Oh my God. Turn back around, whip it right back up, and let's do this tabletop. Oh, so cool. Just gotta get my turns right here. There we go. Put around that, come up the step up over the double. Nice, floated right over it. Just double tabletop here. Wheelied off the backside. Oh, that was cool. Go over the double of this triple. Nice landing. Around the turn. Over the tabletop. Oh man. I think it's gonna take a little getting used to rip through this straight, but look at that. Air, air. Oh man. All right, here we go. Foot launch. Look at that thing take off. Look at the roots of dirt. I'll do a speed run for you guys. It's in dirt mode right now. Oh, look how fast this thing is. Brakes check it right up. Spin it around. Oh, we're caught in the dirt.
Oh my God, I want to bring back the RC Driver RC of the Year awards just so I can give it to the Pro Moto right now. That's how impressed I am with this bike. Losi has done something amazing here. They really thought out this bike. They've worked in so much technology that people can basically grow into this bike and have fun with it for a really long time. Starting off with the throttle limits on here, I was driving it at 50% in the dirt lot and I was having a blast with it, learning it, and actually kind of forgot that it was in 50% mode because I was having so much fun with it. When I took it to the paved parking lot, that's when I realized, hey, this thing has more power. And when I flipped this switch, it also has 75% mode, but when I flipped it over to 100, wow, the power out of this, out of the 2S pack and the 3800 kV motor was just blistering. And the top speed was absolutely awesome. But where this thing really just blew my mind was when I took it to the BMX track, and my very first jump, I launched this thing, landed it perfectly. It was like I had been driving this thing for years. It is just incredible how well this bike handles, how easy it is to keep up. Now guys, every close-up shot you see of this bike, I was driving this one-handed while holding the camera in the other hand. So that gives you an idea of how much control I had over this. But beyond just the stability, the different modes that they have and control over that, thanks to the Spectrum MS6S system that they have in here, really makes this fun wherever you're driving it. So when you're driving it in dirt, you toggle down the switch here and it sets the program up so this is going to be stable and controllable in a dirt-like setting where there's a lot of wheel spin, and even over the jump, it's not going to over throttle it to where it's got to flip over backwards. It's still a possibility, but you can throttle control this thing really easily to get the nose up, to drop the nose down. It's not a really harsh rotation when you're doing the throttle, but it's enough to correct it, which is absolutely awesome. And then you can go toggle it up to street mode. And there, as you guys saw, it keeps the bike planted on the ground. You get a little wheelie here and there, but it allows you to control it on the asphalt. Then when it's in wheelie mode, you could adjust this trim so you could have minimal wheelies, or you could have wheelies where he's basically standing vertical, which is absolutely wild. So they have this thing where you can just enjoy it on so many different levels. And beyond that, Losi has a bunch of option parts for it already. Different tires so you could run on the street. They've got hole shot tires so you might be able to run this thing on like an 8-scale racetrack. And of course they got the dirt bike tires on here. But again, you could go and customize this bike. Now this is the ready to run version that I have. And I found out while talking to them that they have 2 other FXR versions where it won't come with the battery and charger. So you can go and throw your own battery and charger in that if you already have that stuff. But this bike is just so controllable, so usable, that I think it's got to bring a lot of people into this segment of RC. Before, the bikes that we had, they were fun, but you know, they just weren't ultra controllable. And that's where this thing totally shines. This is very controllable. I picked it up right away. So if you have any type of driving experience or knowledge, I think you're gonna have fun with this bike. I've got a bunch of runs in on this bike and I'm not seeing any durability issues here. I'm just seeing your minor wear and tear that you would normally see. The jersey has some light tears in it. The helmet's dirty, it's scuffed up a little bit. Same with the rear fender. It does have a stress mark on it from when I cartwheeled it a couple times and I pushed this thing. I didn't go wild sending it, but I did send this thing. I cased a jump super hard after some pretty big air, and this thing just popped up, landed down on the wheels again, and kept going. I cartwheeled it a couple times. That's where the helmet got all scratched up. You know, he's got some scratches on his knuckles, but I think your wear items are gonna be the tires and then the lean bar wheels, and that's about it. I mean, I even came down on the front of this bike with the wheel turned, and I saw the front end just kind of dig in. It cartwheeled, landed on the 2 wheels, and I kept going with it. And what's cool is they have this spring into the head area that just absorbs that impact and it saves the frame. So these guys have done it. They've thought of everything. Now the ready to run is gonna come in at $599.99, and then the versions without the battery and charger are gonna be $549.99. And I think this is worth it because this is a completely new platform. This is a lot of technology. I can only imagine the amount of time they put into making this bike. The ProMoto is just gonna give you tons of fun and excitement for a long time to come.